What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. So, after nearly 20 years, Carolyn Bryant Dunham has been positively spotted, okay? She hadn't been seen in nearly 20 years. I think not since 2005. She was last reported to have been living in North Carolina, but apparently she actually lives in Kentucky. She lives in Kentucky. She's 88 years old. She looks very aged now, obviously. And she's reportedly blind and suffering from cancer and is in hospice care, which would indicate that she's in her final days. I think this has all been put out there to evoke sympathy for her. But let me say this. I can recall in my youth, in the 80s and 90s, and before I go further, shout out to the brother LB for talking about this. He did a video talking about this woman in this situation as well. I recall in my youth seeing pictures and video clips of what appeared to be elderly old men, harmless old men. Some of them looked sickly. Some of them had oxygen tanks. Some of them, were in wheelchairs. Some of them, were smiling and waving to the cameras. They looked like harmless old Mr. Magoo types, right? But old age may have decrepit their bodies, but these men in their youth did and committed some of the most unspeakable acts and crimes in human history. All right, I'm talking about Nazis. Okay, there was no when it comes to the crimes of the Holocaust, there was no statute of limitations. Okay, nobody gave a fuck if it had been at that time 40 to 50 years since those crimes. Those men were still brought to justice. And the vast majority of Americans backed it, even if they were 95 years old now, even if they were 89 years old and receiving dialysis care. Well, you're going to take your ass to prison and get dialysis care, right? There was no mercy brought upon them. Now, mind you, these men often had to, not just leave the country, assume another identity, do things to try to alter their appearance. Those who are well off maybe even had some plastic surgery done. This woman has gotten to live her entire life scot-free. She's got to live openly, going to the store, not changing her name, nothing. Not her, not her husband, not the husband's brother, not any of the other co-conspirators, none of them. Got to live their lives. Even admitted it after an all-white jury acquitted her husband and his half-brother of that atrocious crime committed against Emmett Till. And, after they were acquitted, had the temerity and the arrogance to admit that they did it. And if I'm not mistaken, ain't shit happened to them. Nothing. And there was no warrant. There was a warrant that was found for her arrest in a Mississippi courthouse, I believe it was. Back in 1955, it was dated. And it wasn't served because they said, well, she's a white woman with young children, so we don't want to disturb her life. Ain't that a motherfucking bitch? And of course, the Mississippi top cop, the attorney general, says that, we're not going to serve this thing. There's no actual body of evidence. Well, I say the same thing, that there's no actual body of evidence when it comes to Deshaun Watson. Where's the body of evidence when it comes to Bill Cosby? Oh, but it's a word of a white woman or women against black men. It's different. But you need Jesus Christ himself to be on the stand as a witness to even have doubts for this woman. She got to live the next 70 years of her life. Meanwhile, Emmett Till's family, his mother, lived the remaining 60 years of her life, I believe it was, 50 to 60 years of her life, without having justice. She died an old woman, his mother, never seeing justice for her son's unspeakable crime, unspeakable murder, the crime that was committed. Now, mind you, they say it was no evidence, right? This is bullshit. Carolyn Bryant, excuse me, whatever the fuck her name is, she lied on the witness stand. Okay? First of all, she lied on the witness stand and embellished what Emmett Till did to get her husband off. Right? Even though it probably wouldn't have mattered anyway. But she lied on the witness stand, which is perjury, right? She admitted that she lied later on. Emmett Till's uncle, although he could not physically identify her, heard a woman supposedly ID Emmett Till as the boy who sassed her or was uppity and had the nerve to whistle at her. Now, what other woman could it be other than his wife? So, at the end of the day, I'm saying this. I don't give a fuck if she was 104 with no legs, no hair, one eye, and senile. She's be put in prison. But you know what's more likely to happen? What's more likely to happen is that after this woman passes away, right? Then all of a sudden we'll hear a bunch of talk. They're gonna, when she's no longer fucking here, then you're gonna have people say shit like, public officials, well, we're going to convict her in absentia or some bullshit like that. All of a sudden you're gonna hear, watch this, when this woman passes away, when there's no actual body, a person to convict to the crime, when there's no actual person living connected to the crime, it's gonna be this absentia bullshit. We furiously condemn Carolyn Bryant in absentia in the chambers of Congress. Don't do that bullshit. Lock her up. I mean, Bill Cosby was an old man, right? They ain't stopped them from locking his ass up. Half blind. They didn't give a fuck. You still got people that want to put Bill Cosby back in prison, 85 years old. So kiss my ass. I don't care. Lock her the fuck up.